Ladies and gentlemen, we will now have our first plenary session. It is on decarbonization opportunities and challenges for Bangladesh RMG Industry. This session will explore the potential for carbon capture and storage and other carbon reduction strategies, as well as the challenges and opportunities for decarbonization across the sector. Now I would like to request the moderator to please come up on stage, Ms. Pauline Obdebek, Environmental Portfolio Lead of April Impact Institute. I would also like to request the speakers to please come up on stage. Inamul Haq Khan, Director of BGME and Managing Director of Ananto Companies. Shafiur Rahman, South Asian Operations Head, G-Star Raw. Akila Fernando, Assistant Vice President, Engineering, EPIC Group. Amir Salim, Director, Aurum Sweater Limited and Knit Asia Limited. We also have another speaker, Peter Ford, Program Lead, Climate of H&M Group, who will be joining us online. Can we please have the speakers on stage? The duration of the plenary will be 40 minutes. Pauline, handing over to you.
Thank you very much. So our panel today is to really set the scene. What does decarbonization mean for the RMG sector? What are the opportunities? But importantly also, what are the challenges? And I believe the remaining panels of the day will go through each of those opportunities and challenges in more depth. So this can be seen as very much setting the scene. So to start, Akila, thank you for joining. Could you please, from a technical perspective, give us the nuts and bolts? What is decarbonization for the RMG sector in Bangladesh?
Yeah, thank you, Pauline. So before I talk about the technical aspect of it, I'll give some context to the question. A recent publication done by Bangladesh Renewable Energy and Sustainable Development Authority, 1/3 of the industrial energy is consumed by the apparel sector, both garment and textile together. And that is 1/10 of the country's energy demand. So even a small thing that we do across the industry will have a significant or noticeable impact on the country's energy portfolio or towards the decarbonization plan. So coming back to your question, from technical perspective, we have a huge potential as an industry. So in the interest of time, I'll only talk about three things. First one is waste heat recovery. Now, as an industry, we have both thermal and electricity demands in our factories. And in Bangladesh, most of the time we are fulfilling our electrical demands using captive power plants. So if we have the captive power plants using, let's say, natural gas, the maximum efficiency that we can go up to about is about 40 to 45%. But if we can have a mechanism to recover the waste heat and utilize to cater your steam demand or your thermal demands, the overall efficiency can go up to about 70%. So for the same amount of energy that we input, we can almost double the output. And the second thing that I want to talk about, it's just an example, the captive power plant I talked about. So if you take about any source that has waste heat like boilers, compressors, dryers, this is applicable. The second thing that I want to talk about here is on energy efficiency improvement, because when we talk about decarbonization, the first thing that comes to our mind is renewable energy. Of course, renewable energy is good, that is our main trump, but we often neglect the power of energy efficiency. If you have seen the greenhouse gas abatement cost curve, which shows the greenhouse gas potential against the greenhouse gas cost, abatement cost, most of the top priority projects are energy efficiency improvement projects. So it shows the potential of energy efficiency has on decarbonizing not just the industry on a general basis. So we can't reach our decarbonization goals, achieve our decarbonization goals with 30, 40 years old machines. For sure, we have to welcome the new technology and have it has to be a technology-driven approach. So we have to welcome new technologies and have the latest technologies integrated with our operations plan. And the third thing that I want to talk about here is renewable energy. Of course, renewable energy is very important, as everyone else spoke about before this panel. So renewable energy, we occupy a large roof space as an industry in the country, and if we can have rooftop solar, we can be energy independent and can reach our decarbonization goals very quickly. On a final note, I would say There was a period when people did not realize about climate change or climate impact. So they knowingly or unknowingly neglected the environmental aspect in manufacturing. And then came to a period where people realized about the energy impact, climate impact, but the solutions, the alternatives were not affordable, like renewable energy and efficiency improvement, they were very expensive. But now we are in an era where we realize the impact of climate change. In fact, we see in front of our eyes, and the alternatives are affordable. So we don't have any excuse at the moment. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Peter, thank you for joining us online. I think we can see you. Can we hear you?
Yes, hello.
We can hear you. Great. So H&M has very ambitious and aggressive decarbonization targets, most of which, of course, cover your supply chain. So could you tell us a bit about, from a brand perspective, what those strategies look like, and specifically as it relates to Bangladesh, how do you hope to achieve those targets?
Thank you. And just to apologize for everyone that's had to look at my giant face during this panel. I'll be in Dhaka in 2 weeks' time, but couldn't make it to this event, I'm afraid. So yes, decarbonization challenges and strategies for a brand like H&M. It's been a journey, but it's one that we are strongly moving forward on and feel like moving quite fast. I mean, the first key step, obviously, is a line on how do you measure all of your emissions, where your footprint is, and where everything stands. So for us, that was done, as we said, our science-based targets, which commit H&M Group to a 56% cut in absolute emissions by 2030 and a 90% cut by 2040. And again, these are absolute emissions. So once that has been done, you then have to identify where the fuels are that are leading to these emissions, the processes and the fuels. So obviously starting with coal, the important topic on most people's minds, the factory level, also fabric waste and other such things, burning anything that releases such obvious carbon emissions. Strengthening how biomass is sourced and the guidelines around that. Biomass is a viable transition fuel in some markets where other solutions don't exist. So really identifying where those are. And in Bangladesh, there are some important suppliers for whom biomass is a viable option. And then, the focus is increasingly on fossil gas and how do we start to remove that from our supply chains and our factories. So, waste heat recovery is an important efficiency step at the moment, but it is not a long-term solution. And how do we work to ensure long-term solutions are found? And that really does center on electrification. And so that really is where we are pushing efforts and energies globally as a brand. And, obviously in Bangladesh, that comes with challenges, but also, key opportunities. The level of electrification is so low that anything that can be done to improve it brings benefits. So once you've identified the fuels and where that's coming from, then it's time to actually do the hard work. So we're lucky we have a team of in-house engineers, including a team in Bangladesh working with factories to do free audits to identify not just energy efficiency measures that can be implemented today that can bring both real GHG reduction savings, but also in many cases financial savings, but also then in the fuel replacement discussions that need to happen. How can processes be electrified? How can the grid reliability be improved? What storage mechanisms are there that can ensure this? And so this is our team, working on this globally. Whether it's thermal heat storage, heat pumps, other such interesting technologies that will bring the impacts we need to see. We also work with all of our suppliers on imagining. Sorry, it's not my phone, I promise. Okay. Then working with all of our suppliers to imagine a future which does have a carbon reduction in it. So by up to 2030, what steps and processes and investments and technologies need to happen at each factory that will bring these savings? Again, rooftop solar for tier ones is quite nice. For tier twos, especially in Bangladesh, it doesn't even necessarily cover the air conditioning in the office. So how do we increase ambition and scope, and not just doing projects that sound nice, but projects that actually bring impact? So these roadmaps really help us to see and identify factories that are showing ambition, that clearly understand the scale of the challenge, and then are willing to work with us on finding solutions. And one of those solutions that H&M is able to offer is through the GFI program, the Green Fashion Initiative, where we can offer low interest loans and financial support to factories to actually purchase this equipment and these technologies that will bring these savings. And obviously, that's happening just at the H&M level. And then we work increasingly trying to find other brand partners to work in collaboration with us to really scale this up, so that we can bring that rapid climate action that's needed. And again, really pushing for electrification. I would say that, globally by 2040, it's not an impossible thing to imagine a totally electrified garment sector at all levels. And then, what steps and what do we need to do today to realize that vision? What needs to happen? What support for power purchase agreements, for grid strengthening, and for boosting renewables into national grids that we can see. So yeah, that is how H&M Group is aggressively and very actively tackling our Scope 3 emissions and the Scope 2 emissions of our suppliers, and really bringing some positive impact and success. It's great to see. Thank you.
Thank you. Inamul, as the director of BGMEA, we'd love to hear your perspective on decarbonization of Bangladesh's RMG sector, really taking that big picture perspective. What do you see are the opportunities and challenges?
Thank you. Bangladesh is the second largest exporter in the world in apparel division, and that puts a big responsibility to us in Bangladesh, and we need to address the issues of GHG emission and the carbon decarbonization issue. In BGMA, there are a lot of initiatives, as we have heard from our minister, Mr. Sharia, that government has lots of plan, and they are implementing and they are helping. I think the initiative just started. It's not like long 10 years or 15 years back. Those initiatives are like 5 years or something. And in BGMA also, we have taken a lot of initiatives. But I don't know how late we are, but we have started working on it from BGMA perspective. All the factories are informed on a regular basis what to do and what are the actions we need to take. But also we need to remember that RMG is the least polluter in this industry, because total fashion industry, we have like, I think it's how much? 10% of carbon emission. It is fashion industry. And in the fashion industry, there are two divisions. One is RMG and one is textile. RMG side is kind of very low in terms of pollution. RMG is kind of, we can do a lot of things, and we are doing a lot of things. So whatever pollution we are doing in terms of carbon emission, we can control it. And I think the programs taken by H&M and EU, that's helping us, guiding towards what to do. Because we can identify few things that is, as I say, the opportunity and challenges. I can see that we have renewable energy transition, improve energy efficiency, product design. I mean, the product we are making, if we can make it friendly for production, like less washing or less use of water, that sort of thing. Use recycled materials for product sustainability. Engage in PAC program. which is actually guiding us, the PAC program guiding us what to do to face the decarbonization challenges. Science-Based Target Initiative is a United Nations organization, and they're also basically, they are setting the targets, 2030, 2040, 2050. So this organization is helping in that line. Transportation optimization. Here also we have a very good opportunity. We can start converting our vehicles and all other transports into this electric car coming in future. And also we have one industry in Bangladesh already, they are going to manufacture early next year, they are going to come out with electric cars. That is going to help us. And then green building practice. Green building practice, Bangladesh is doing excellent. We have 202 factories that is LEED certified. And I also have 2 factories which is platinum certified factory. So this is a very big step. And people can come and see that what we are doing, environment friendly things, what we are doing, that is going to help others to learn also. And 202 factory already we have LEED certification, and we hope that another quite a few factories will be coming within 2024. And another is last opportunity, we have power purchase agreement. That is a very good initiative. Whatever carbon reduction we can do, the other thing is we can buy certificates from this organization where the fund will be used in terms of environment-friendly activities. And finally, just few challenges I must mention. So there are not much alternative to fossil fuel. Then less option for renewable sources in Bangladesh, not much. Because we don't have wind power, we don't use wind power. We have few solar power, in rooftop solar, not much also. And we have water, in Kaptai hydroelectric project. And another good thing is coming into operation is the nuclear power in Rupur. If that comes, that is going to help us much. Then we have land and space scarcity. Investment requirement and inflation rate. This is also a big handicap. Then sustainable pricing strategy and customer behavior. Here we want to always say that the price we are getting, everything ends up in price. Factories which are going to use green for decarbonization, they need fund, they need money. And here I personally will request the buyer community to start thinking of fair wage thing. That is going to help us out a lot. Then product diversification, increase production cost and utility cost, infrastructure development, supply chain complexity, and finally what I want to say that we need collaboration with the buyers. Exemplary thing is done by H&M. We have already signed from BGMA, we have signed a contract with H&M for that is for this cleaner energy and to give us guidance for circularity and clean practices, what we are adopting. So H&M, thanks to H&M, who are actually giving us much help, but I have not seen much response from many other buyers, what we are expecting. They should also come up, because I, as a H&M vendor, I'm going to take steps, because H&M is giving us help and also some pressure, which helps in terms of conversion. So if other buyers are also coming, and also all buyers have some vendor base, so that is going to help us much. Thank you.
Thank you. So I think we've set the scene now. What are the nuts and bolts, the brand perspective, and an overview of the opportunities and challenges. I'd now really like to dig into the detail. What does this mean in practice? So first from you, Amar, and then from Akila and Inamul as well. Taking it from the big picture into your daily practice, how have you encountered these opportunities and challenges? How are you dealing with them? To give some examples to the audience.
Sure. Thanks, Pauline, and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. And of course, first, if you ask me as a manufacturer, entrepreneur, businessman from the RMG industry, Whenever we are asked to do something for the good of, or make any commitment that is good for the industry or for the country, we are always up for that. I don't see or I don't know anybody who would say no to that, because we have already proven this in our credentials earlier with sustainability, with all the developments that we have done in our fire structural and other safety measures. And when it comes to sustainability in terms of environment, decarbonization, of course, we are very much there. But going forward, I mean, I would like to explain some challenges from my personal experience as you requested. First, I would like to mention that there are three most important things that needs to be addressed. Number one would be definitely access to fund, and of course access to information of fund. And then number two, if we go, that is going to be scarcity of experts and advisory companies who can help us do that. So it's about the technical know-how. And third, finally, which already Mr. Bablu already informed, that it's about the space. We don't have space. If you look around all over the world, if you go to other manufacturing countries like China, India, or all the other big places, most of the factories are not vertical. But when we come to Bangladesh, we have to go vertical. There's no other way. And when we go vertical, that actually limits us to do a lot of activities that the others would have done. So when we compare Bangladeshi factories with other factories, that's not an apple-to-apple comparison. So first of all, we need to understand that. And then we need to assess ourselves, okay, from where we are, we need to assess whether we are doing it right or not. And so as I said that, yes, since we have these limitations, so I wanted to put up the solar panels on the rooftop. I'm talking about 6-7 years ago. And you know that we have to keep at least 25% space empty. Back in those days, fire license wouldn't have been given if 50% of the capacity wouldn't have been kept empty. So you have very little amount of space on the rooftop, and if you want to do it on the ground, I mean, you don't have so much space, but we need to have the fire assembly area. So then the only other way is go on rooftop and build whatever capacity you have. And then after about 6 or 7 months, when there was a big storm, it just took away, we blew away the whole setup of solar panels that we installed after spending so much of money. So this is what I'm talking about the technical know-how. The guys who were there, we spent so much money to them, and then they realized. And now I'm sure there are better companies who can offer better services, but it's just an example that we are spending, we are not saying no to that. And also, when there's a next step required, we are again spending, and we are always trying our best whenever there's a necessity. Okay, now let's come down to rainwater harvesting. We talk about 5 to 10% of the factories who have so much space. But if you talk about 90% or more than that of the factories, they don't have so much space. So how can you do rainwater harvesting? Okay, what I do, okay, let's have whatever rain that is there on the rooftop that we're having, let's put a pipe. I mean, very simple things. I was sitting in the factory looking at the rain and realized where is the water going. Okay, then we put a pipe and trying to see, okay, let's build a tank and store that water. Very simple initiatives, but then again, the space is not there. Not everybody can afford it. It is very expensive, and when somebody has a land, entrepreneur will first think how to increase the productivity, how to increase the production, not of sustainability, obviously. And of course, and when sustainability matters, definitely, we would definitely get into that. And now coming to the what practices we are also doing, like, for boiler, when we are sending the steam for the iron or the washing, then it comes back and it gets condensed and it turns to hot water, warm water, that we use in the tank for the boiler. But then again, we are actually making sure that we don't have to feed, cold water and then warm it, or, we are not using fossil fuel. So these are many activities, initiatives that we have taken, and we have done these things not for the sake of sustainability only, for the sake of our own survival. Because if you see, before 21, the electricity bill was per unit was 8.53 taka. And then it had a 10% increase, then it has a 4%, then another 8%. Now in 2023, March, it is now 12.53. So from 21 to 23, the increase has been 44%. So we are all the time looking for how to reduce, carbon emission. And decarbonization is, of course, definitely an important part of the sustainability. But as the minister said, that's only 0.2% that Bangladesh is emitting. And if you divide it with 180 million people, then per capita expenditure of decarbonization is even better. I think it will probably the best in the world. And even after that, we are relentlessly trying to do our best and improve on that. So that says it all about the RMG industry. And finally, I would like to say that in terms of compliance, we've seen there have been many inspections, there have been many audits, and we have come to some kind of central audit like RSC or Accord. Maybe for sustainability here, we can also think of something else, like we are doing PACT, and then for Inditex, there is the clean water care. Our grading is also excellent. So why not include them together and make a decarbonization point that we can use it for monetary gain or something else, or something resourceful, and that will actually help us be more aware. Because otherwise, only the 10% of the factories will keep on spending and becoming more sustainable, but the 90% of the factories probably will be left out. Sorry, maybe I've taken too much of time, but thank you so much.
Thank you. Akila, maybe another example from you.
Yeah, so opportunities, we have a lot. So in my previous speech also, I mentioned that energy efficiency improvement has a vast opportunity for us as an industry. A good example is in February, at Epic we invested about $700,000 in efficiency improvement with projects for projects less than 1 year payback. So there are enough opportunity, and if we talk about challenges, yes, we definitely have challenges for anything that we do. Funding is a big challenge that we have, but I'm not going to talk about funding because there's a separate forum for that. But collaboration is very important, because sustainability is something that we shouldn't be competing with each other. It is something that we need collaboration. So when we, for an example, we do a lot of projects, but there's no way we can replicate the same thing across the industry, because there's no cross collaboration within the industry, between the companies. We still compete with each other in terms of what we do. But that is something that we have to work on, and at the same time, when we talk about collaboration, there's no proper definition for collaboration. So you can do whatever you want and say we have collaborated with this party or not, but ultimately what we actually want is a collaboration, not just for knowledge sharing, not just for problem identification, but also for funding and then risk sharing and execution, so that we can close the full cycle of the project, which will have an ultimate impact. Because otherwise, no matter how many energy audits that we do, how many feasibility studies we do, unless we do the execution, we will not be getting any benefit in terms of emission reductions.
Thank you. And then, Inamul, from your experience, could you maybe share in your operations some opportunities or challenges?
I've already mentioned this opportunities and challenges. I'll go deep into this thing. And I think starting from a renewable energy transition, here we are using this sunlight from solar. We are using it, and here we can make like some soft loan or something will help the factories, because factories, they don't have, we need a lot of money to go for solar and installation and all these things. If we can do it fast, then we can use this free sunlight, we can utilize this one. So here there's a lot of opportunity for solar power expansion. And then improve energy efficient in the factories. So we need a lot of things we are doing, like conversion to LED lights, and also use the motors, not using the clutch motor, we are using the servo motors. So that is helping us in terms of energy save and all these things. So we have to be smart in terms of designing our machines, taking the better machines, upgrading our machineries with BMRE, where we will be using less energy. We can work over here. Then use recycled materials for product sustainability. So we are doing over here, like in H&M, they have a practice of thread and everything like organic, and it has to be recycled material. It is a compulsory thing. We need to use all the threads from the recycled material. And like this, all the recycled materials are being promoted, and here we can we can contribute much over here. So then transportation optimization. What we can do is like We should buy the modern, technology. There's electrical car that's coming, but at least we can use the other vehicle which uses the less fuel and more on a battery operation. So that is helping us in that one. And green building practice, which is the most effective one. So if a building is LEED certified or green building, that is lots of initiatives are there, starting from rooftop rainwater harvesting, rooftop solars, and other machineries, even in the taps in the toilets, that's going to use less water. So if the factory is green, so lots of problems or challenges is solved automatically. So what we should do in terms of, we should help the factories with some funds so that they can convert their factory into LEED certification, which is going to automatically help the factories to do lots of things in a single go. And that is a very good proposal for building. Because I have seen in my 2 factories, which is platinum category, I've seen those factories are running very efficiently. And in terms of energy consumption, those 2 factories, I can compare because I have other 3 factories. So I can compare with that 3 versus this one. This one is very, very efficient factory. So to convert the factory to green, LEED certified, that is going to help us out in a greater perspective. So there's another one is this purchase carbon offsets. It's a new concept. We can buy the certificates from or some organizations where this fund will be accumulated and used for all green energy sources. So in terms of it is going to we are not able to meet all the things like the target set 2030, target set by 2040 from H&M. And then from a United Nations, net zero is the target 2050. So to achieve those, will always be some short. So to overcome that one, this purchase of carbon offset, so this is going to help us out. It's a kind of a complex thing, but we need to spend some dollars, lots of dollars we spend and buy certificate. So that is going to compensate us and achieve the target. So these are the things what I can do in the garments factory. Thank you.
Thank you. And Shafiur, firstly, thank you for being so patient. It would be really great to hear from you, representing a brand, how you help your suppliers, leverage some of these opportunities, but also to help them with the challenges that they face that come from the targets you have asked them to meet.
Thank you. First of all, as a brand, G-Star, we also have our carbon emission reduction target. Our target is more like achievable target, I would say. Like in 2025, we want to reduce around 15%, and 2030, we want to reduce 30%. So once we are talking about reduction, then of course we should know our baseline, where we are now. That's why we hired a few consultant climate experts in 2020 and 2021. We managed to measure where we are. So, and that from that point of time, we targeted to reduce that. So let's say once we talk about reduction, then as a brand, we should think about the emission points. So in our organization, every team is involved how to reduce. Let's say our designers, once they are designing a product, they always think about recycled material, organic material, or compostable material, from where emission start already. Design point, we see the emission is less. And if we talk about other department, like let's say our logistics or planning team, they think many times before sending any goods by air, because air emission is much higher than sea emission. So let me share one small example. In 2021, we tried to analyze many of our components, and one example is like our packing, because generally around 44% of plastics are using in packing. So we also analyzed our packing, and then what we saw, we revised our packing size, and we also reduced the thickness of our polybag. Only by modifying 2 parameters, we managed to reduce around 50% of polybag consumption in whole G-Star. This is not only in Bangladesh. We did analysis from Bangladesh, but we implemented that in globally. And of course, the reason why I'm sharing, because this is something sustainable things we should, no one should keep only for themselves, rather to spread to everybody. And if we talk about our vendor side, many of our vendors are already producing solar energy, and many of our vendors are already using natural light. Even few of our vendors, they start working from 7 a.m. during summertime to use daylight, just to reduce as much as carbon as possible. So many of our, probably around 50% of our denim and 50% of our outerwear already carbon neutral, because they are invested in solar power, and they are using that. And sometime in the weekend, they are also contributing their solar power to national grid. This is not only in Bangladesh, also in other countries. So there is a prospect, and of course, then question, I'm sure in business, financial freedom is one of the important factor. That's why from brand, and we ensure payment term and also purchasing practice. Because if, as a brand, if we commit a good payment term and a good purchasing practice, and there, that can create a financial freedom for the manufacturers. Once manufacturers have the financial freedom, only then they can think beyond business. Otherwise, it's not easy for them. So I think that approach we could manage to create. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you. So the bell has gone. We have about 5 minutes left. So I would like to give the opportunity if ever anyone on the floor has a question for our panelists. So I've seen some hand go up. I don't know if there's a microphone. Or you can speak very loudly. I see a microphone's coming.
Repeat. I thank you everyone for your deliberations, and also for the analysis based on the sustainable apparel sectors. I'm Shakil Shahryar. I am the Director Latin America Wing of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So I had the opportunity to serve in Copenhagen as one of my assignments, and where I had the opportunity also to visit Copenhagen International School, which is of its kind in terms of its sustainable buildings and using the green technologies. So while we are talking about the space limitation for the solar panels, so in Copenhagen International School, I have seen that they have used the vertical solar panels placed on the side walls with some inclination to grab the sunlight. So as we are talking, especially Mr. Amir was talking, the limitation of the space in the rooftop. So whether we can explore this opportunity to use the vertical solar panels, and maybe we can think of the roofs for the rainwater harvesting. If already any of the buildings of Bangladesh is using this technology, that I would like to know. If not, whether we can explore this opportunity or not. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Of course, that's a very good question, and we also explored the opportunities and initially how we could address that. And while designing the factory, we realized that, you know, in the floors, you have to look into a particular area, what is the wind flow, and from which direction the wind is flowing. Based on that, you put the exhaust on the other side. And also you have to ensure the daylight coming in, and because we are talking about a mass number of people, like in most cases in corporate houses, it's different. It's a glass building, air conditioned, you can do a lot of things. But here we don't have the luxury to do that, because as I said, it's all about money, financials. So of course, if it comes even at a cheaper rate, then at the same time, we cannot make it whole air conditioned. You know, when you're doing that, you're blocking the windows. At the same time, sunlight is going to be affected. It is definitely going to create probably energy, but inside the factory floor, then we need to turn on lights all the time. And also the airy part is also important. And also as the heat generating operations that are there, especially in the finishing section, then how are we going to manage that? So yeah, of course, that is there, and we have always been thinking, and we always look forward. That's why I looked into factories in China and in other places. If these kind of solutions are there, but unfortunately I could not find any as of now. But I'm sure there are research and development going on, and I'm very much hopeful maybe in the future there could be something or something different that could help us solve this issue. Thank you.
Thank you. I think that's a really good example of when we need to really look at context-specific situations and which solution applies the best where. I think there were a few more hands. We probably have time for one more question.
Thank you for giving me the floor. My name is Arif Faisal. I'm working with UNDP Bangladesh. As you have already mentioned that Bangladesh is one of the pioneer for promoting green industry. What is the cost and benefit for adopting green industry? Second thing is that you have limited options for promoting solar, but we have conducted a study and find out that particularly for promoting rooftop solar, there is a potential for promoting rooftop solar. And garments industry can meet actually more than 25% of energy demand for solar rooftop. Third question is that you are doing lots of things on decarbonization, but garments and textile industries are using lots of hazardous chemicals. There is a study that more than 200 types of dyes and chemicals is used in the fashion industry. So what are you actually adopting, particularly for addressing these types of hazardous chemical? Thank you.
So I think we only have time to answer one of those questions, and I'll take the first one on the kind of business case. And maybe, Akila, could you close us off by answering that question?
So if you look at the business case, definitely, as I explained with an example, Epic invested about $700,000 in February this year, and we are getting a less than 1 year payback for the project. So it's definitely we have a good return on investment if we are looking at efficiency improvement. And to answer the third question very briefly, yes, sustainability has a broader meaning, not just decarbonization. Since the topic is only decarbonization, we have been talking about decarbonization. But definitely with the organizations have their goals to limit or eliminate the use of hazardous chemicals in the operations, and also to have their ETPs design ETPs in a way that they do not discharge any hazardous chemicals to the environment. So definitely it's on the cards.
Thank you. So unfortunately, that's all the time we have. And as I said, this is really setting the scene for today, and we're going to dive deeper in the next few panels into a lot of the topics that we discussed. So can we please have a round of applause for our esteemed panelists, and thank you very much.